In 1975, a researcher at Harvard University sat across from a baby. The baby was happy, smiling, reaching out, doing everything a baby naturally does when they feel safe with someone they love. Then, the researcher gave the mother a signal, and the mother's face went completely blank. No smile, no eye contact, no reaction. Just nothing. The baby noticed immediately. It tried everything to get her back. It smiled harder. It pointed. It made sounds. It reached towards her face with its tiny hands, as if it could physically pull her expression back to normal. The mother did not respond. Within 90 seconds, the baby began to break down. And what happened next, not just in that room, but over the following years, is one of the most important things ever discovered about why so many adults today struggle to feel safe in their own relationships. This is called the still face experiment. And if you've ever felt a wave of panic when someone you care about goes quiet, if you've ever worked overtime to keep someone happy just so you didn't have to feel what that silence felt like, then this video is for you. Dr. Edward Tronick was a developmental psychologist at Harvard. In 1975, he designed an experiment to answer a question that no one had really asked before. What does it actually do to a baby when a parent emotionally checks out? Not abuse, not physical harm, just silence. Just a face that stops responding. So here's how it worked. A mother would sit face to face with her infant, usually between 9 and 18 months old. For the first few minutes, everything was normal. She smiled, she talked, she made the faces that babies live for. The baby lit up. Then, Dr. Tronick gave the signal. The mother immediately shifted to what he called the still face. Blank expression, eyes forward, completely unresponsive, like a person behind a glass. She didn't leave the room. She didn't close her eyes. She was still there. She just wasn't present. And here's what happened almost every single time. In the first 20 to 30 seconds, the baby kept trying to reconnect. It used every social tool it had. Big smiles, vocalizing, pointing at things in the room, almost like it was saying, "Look at this, isn't this fun? Please come back to me." When that didn't work, the baby escalated. It started reaching towards the mother's face directly. Some babies touch her cheek. Some grab her hands, but still nothing. Then something shifted. The baby stopped trying. It turned its body away. It looked down. Some babies started rocking. Some began to cry. The expressions on their faces, and again, Tronick coded thousands of hours of this footage. They did not look like they were frustrated. They looked like grief. In less than 2 minutes, a previously happy, securely attached baby had been brought to the edge of what an infant can emotionally handle, by nothing more than just a blank face. Then, the mother resumed normal interaction. And here's the part that people don't talk about enough. The babies didn't just snap back. It took time. Some of them avoided eye contact with their mother for several minutes. Some continued to cry even after she smiled again. It was as if some part of them, some very early, very deep part, had just learned something. When someone leaves, they might not really come back. Tronick ran this experiment hundreds of times over the following decades. He wasn't just measuring what happened in the moment. He was watching what happened to these children over years. And what he found changed the way we understand about the developing brain. When a baby experiences repeated emotional unavailability, a parent who is physically present but emotionally gone, its nervous system begins to adapt. And the adaptations, it makes them permanent. Here's the science. In the first 3 years of life, the brain is building the architecture it will use for the rest of your life. Specifically, it is building the circuits responsible for emotional regulation, the ability to feel a difficult feeling and not be destroyed by it. Those circuits don't build themselves, they build in relationships. Every time a caregiver responds to a baby's distress, picks it up, soothes it, makes eye contact, and says, "Hey, I see you, you're okay." That interaction is literally constructing neural pathways. The baby is not just being comforted. It is learning that discomfort has an end, that distress is survivable, that someone will come. When that response doesn't come, when the face stays blank, the brain doesn't build those circuits the same way. Instead, it builds something else. It builds hypervigilance. Because if you can't trust that comfort is coming, the safest thing to do is to never stop scanning for danger. Never fully relax. Never let your guard down. Dr. Tronick called this a biological expectation of disconnection. The baby's brain stops expecting connection as the default. It starts expecting absence as the default, and it reorganizes everything around that expectation. That reorganization doesn't disappear when the baby grows up. It just changes its shape. I want you to think about something. When someone you care about goes silent, doesn't respond to a message, seems distant, gives you a shorter answer than usual, what happens in your body? For some of you, it's nothing. You notice it, and then maybe you do move on. But for a lot of you watching this, something else happens. There's a spike, a sudden tightness. Your mind starts working immediately. What did I do? Are they angry? Did something change? And you can't fully rest until that silence is filled. That response has a name. Researchers call it anxious attachment, but the name doesn't matter as much as where it actually comes from. It comes from a nervous system that learned very early that silence means something is wrong, because once it actually did. And this is where the still face experiment stops being a study about babies and it becomes a study about you. If you grew up with a parent who is emotionally unavailable, not cruel, not absent, just unreachable, you experience your own version of that experiment. Maybe not for 2 minutes, maybe for years. A parent who is always stressed, always distracted, who is in the room but never quite with you, who you could never quite read, whose love felt conditional on your own performance. You did what the baby did. You tried everything. You became funny, or helpful, or invisible, or perfect, whatever seemed most likely to get the face to change, whatever seemed most likely to bring them back. And when it still didn't work, you adapted. Maybe you stopped asking. You told yourself you didn't need much. You got very good at reading rooms, at detecting the first signs of someone pulling away, so you could act before the silence started. Or maybe you went the other direction instead. You became someone who pulls away first, who leaves before being left, who keeps relationships at just enough distance that the still face can never really hurt you. Tronick himself said something that I think about a lot. He said the most important thing a caregiver can do is not be perfect. It's to repair. The damage doesn't come from the disconnection itself. Disconnection happens in every relationship. The damage comes from disconnection without repair. When the blank face never becomes a warm face again. When the silence never gets explained. When the child is left to conclude, without anyone correcting them, that they have must done something to cause it. That conclusion becomes a belief. And that belief runs quietly in the background of every relationship you have as an adult. Here's what makes this study bigger than any one person's story. Dr. Tronick's research intersects with something called intergenerational transmission of attachment, the way you were taught or not taught to handle emotional disconnection you will pass on. Not because you're broken, not because you're a bad parent or partner, but because the patterns that formed in early childhood becomes automatic. They become the water you swim in. You don't notice you're doing them because you've never known anything else. A parent who learned that emotions make people pull away will unconsciously discourage emotions in their own children. A parent who learned to manage anxiety by becoming extremely competent and controlled will model that for their own kids. A parent who learned that love requires performance they will make their children feel like they have to earn it themselves. This is the generational part. The trauma doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as normal. And the reason that matters, the reason this study run in a lab in 1975 is relevant to your life right now, is that understanding it breaks the cycle. Not immediately, not completely, but something happens when you can say, my nervous system is like this for a reason. I was built this way by experiences I didn't choose, in a brain that was doing exactly what it was designed to do. I adapted to survive an environment I had no power to change. That is not a story about weakness. That is a story about intelligence. You survived, and survival always starts with understanding what you were always up against. The still face experiment has been replicated hundreds of times across different cultures, different ages, and different family structures. The result is always the same. Babies need more than just presence. They need contact. They need a face that responds, a voice that answers, an adult who does come back. And when they don't get it, when the face stays blank long enough, something shifts in them. Most of those babies do grow up, and most of them are actually watching these videos like this right now, trying to understand why certain things affect them the way they do. So again, if that's you, just remember, you're not broken. You're just built different, and the first step to rebuilding is knowing what has built you.